Welcome back, everybody, to the March AGE Open. We are gearing up for round 3 after that barn burner of a Brute back-to-back, and we do have a Brute coming up for you momentarily, but we're going to get a different flavor of Brute. There's only 3. This one, I'm sure... oh, God. I was going to make a joke because I said different flavor. I was going to say, like, this one...
You were alliterating. You were on a roll.
I know, but I was flying too close to the sun because the joke I was going to... we're going to see a Kayo in a second. But first, how you feeling? How you feeling about the day?
I'm feeling great, man. It's just past 2. I had my lunch, and I'm feeling ready for 4 more games before top 8. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I think so. 6 rounds? 6 rounds. Strap in. We're not going anywhere.
Awesome. And I'm especially excited to see Dorinthea versus Kayo because I know that Dorinthea has also been sort of this deck that can, heavy hitters, warrior cards too. The Brute's been in the spotlight, but the warriors
absolutely
have been doing work.
Absolutely.
In this meta.
Warriors, Brutes, Guardians, all kind of up. We up if we're Brute and Guardian and Warrior players. We up because they are not only enjoying all these new cards, but putting them to work. Kasai has been putting in work over the RTM season. People are a little cooler on her, from what I understand, moving into Pro Tour, but that does not mean that she can't do damage. But honestly, Dory, like we're about to see in this next game as we get ready for Moises Lopez on Kayo Armed and Dangerous versus Richard Truong on Dorinthea Ironsong. This is going to be another heavy hitter showcase. Both these heroes have gotten such great support from the new set, and I just don't think we can really sleep on what is possible now that Dorinthea has access to these agility tokens in the same way that these other warriors do.
Yeah, lead with speed, one of those cards. Another way to just keep pushing that damage forward, starting with a Naked Dawnblade.
And if I am not mistaken, and I hope someone will correct me in my ear if I am wrong, I believe Moises on KO won the RTN that took place at this very game store last weekend. I believe that is true, so he has had success in this building on KO, currently 2-0, but Richard, no slouch in his own right. This is table 1. This is the top of our current standings here at the AGE Open, so we're going to see, can the Dawnblade take precedence over the power of the Mandible Claw and the agility tokens that Moises is sure to put forward? It's round 3, both players here 40-40. Let's go ahead and begin the game. Richard just going to go ahead and arsenal up, not give Moises any chance to filter, no instant speed effects it looks like, no agility tokens to start Moises' turn. Let's begin the game.
Yeah, and it looks like we're already seeing one of the new cards on the Dorinthea side, the Grains of Blood Spill.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a powerful way to just continually get on hits from your weapon. If you hit, you get to make a vigor. If you have cards to pitch into it, such a powerful effect. Such a good card. Blocks for a good bit. Gorgeous art as well. This is going to be a send, packing, pitching a couple cards, either setting up for the second cycle or just not access to go again on this turn. So we're going to banish our arsenal face up, and then if send packing does not hit, it returns to the hand for Richard here.
We've got 2 floating. I don't know that Brutes really like to run Pummel, but always a little bit scary to see 2 floating.
So the Blade Flurry there, a beautiful card. One of those, again, new cards, really good in this Dorinthea deck. So good off of Singing Steel Blade. Normally you think, oh, they have 0 floating, so they wouldn't, the only thing that they could do here is Ironsong response, but sometimes if they have the agility and the Singing Steel Blade comes out, you get to cut 2 on the first attack, 2 on the second attack. Such a good card coming out from heavy hitters. So now that the send packing has not hit, the Blade Flurry goes back to hand. Now for Moises, he's able to kind of track that card. If he doesn't see it on this turn, he knows for a fact it's in the arsenal and can play around it. So powerful when Dorinthea utilizes kind of the threat so much in her deck as well. The threat of what she could have is so important for Moises here. If he's able to know, all right, I know one of those cards is a Blade Flurry, every point of value and information matters in the matchup against the Ironsong warrior.
Absolutely. So he's wondering if he should overblock this one, knowing there's definitely an attack react in that hand.
Yeah, the question is, does Richard have a way to give go again with that other card in the hand? Moises, again, able to know there is a Blade Flurry, but the question is, what's that final card?
Yeah. And he also sees the pitch, Glint the Quicksilver.
And yeah, look, Moises representing the overblock, seeing if, does Richard want to just throw down the Blade Flurry, not get any value out of it, but get it out of the hand? The answer is no. So Richard here having to keep an extra card in the hand, a little bit of a quote-unquote IP penalty, and you don't get to use all your cards.
Yeah, And at the same time, he gets to keep those cards while Moises blocked as if they were played.
Yeah. So Moises here, it's kind of like a little bit of a trade because Moises, while he didn't get, actual block value out of these capskin leathers, he did put Richard in the position where he's like, well, if I play this card, it doesn't do anything, but if I keep it in my hand, I don't get to draw an extra card. So putting Richard in some somewhat uncomfortable positions. Moises is going to go ahead and discard the Agile Windup at instant speed, make an Agility, and make a Might. Kayo here, triggering thanks to the Agile Windup being discarded. And now this Mandible Claw does get the go again.
Richard throwing his head back, cracking his neck, getting ready to take a hit.
And now the Cast Bones. We see why he blocked with one, because there is a second Cast Bones on the way. If we only need 5 6s here to get the Agility token. There's one miss.
And he gets
no, the E-Strike,
right,
the E-Strike will be a 6 thanks to Kayo. So we are going to get 6 Agility tokens upon resolution. And what that means is we get, I guess we already had an Agility token, so it doesn't really matter. We get 2 Agility tokens.
Oh, that's true, yeah. So he's set up. He's ready to go. He's got his 6 Might tokens. And, representing a really big turn. Let's see what Richard can thread together. He also has a 5-card hand. And I don't know if you saw last turn, but he had a glistening steel blade. Is that the right card?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's looking to get some counters on this Dawn Blade with the Blade Flurry. He might have a lot of gas.
Absolutely.
In the tank for this turn.
And the other powerful part of Cast Bones, even if you decide not to utilize, the go wide effect on the Agility token, you block with a couple cards, you still got a bunch of value off of those Might tokens that are ready to power up the turn, even if you use a couple cards for their blocking value. So now Richard here, going to go ahead and prepare. Like we said, this is going to be an Emboldened Blade, so we're going to flip over the arsenal. Just going to go ahead and see what it is. There's, unlikely that it's going to be D-React in this deck, unless it's something like a Reckless Swing. But the Emboldened Blade now going to just flip over the arsenal. There is that Glistening Steel Blade.
Did he put the Emboldened Blade in his pitch zone? That might be a mistake.
Oh, he did, and we should make sure that doesn't hang out there. So we're going to go make sure that the Emboldened Blade does end up in the graveyard. But this is still a threatening Glistening Steel Blade coming in 4/4. Oh, looks like they're realizing it right now.
There it is. The players caught it.
Yeah, and they're saying, we just got it. We figured it out.
Mm-hmm. Good catch. Honest play.
Yeah, they're saying it's all good. This is a Dawn Blade that is going to go ahead and threaten a counter if it does hit. The Emboldened Blade is going to also bump up the Dawn Blade a little bit. They're going to go ahead and put the damage on. Oh, I guess maybe the Emboldened Blade only if it actually grabs a D-React and destroys the D-React gives the +1. But we'll have to see.
Thinking about the blocks, he decides to give 6 here. Can he get over? Oh.
Wow, going to go ahead and give 8. Really don't want to get the counter on and getting another Might thanks to the Apex Bonebreaker. So the next attack on Moises this turn is going to be coming in for an additional 7 points of value.
And let's see what he does here. He's thinking. Looks like he might have gotten stuffed on that block.
Yeah, I mean, we do see it's a Shift the Tide of Battle in the hand for Richard. I mean, probably just that Blade Flurry in the arsenal as well.
2's not more than 8. Or I guess 5 is not more than 8. Doesn't matter. It doesn't look like he's getting over, and he can't utilize the go again on that Glistening Steel Blade.
Now, the Command and Conquer there being committed to the block. Going to make it so that Moises is not able to throw, a Command and Conquer for 13 with go again, which is what Cast Bones does allow you to do.
Well, and Cast Bones is so powerful because it allows him to use his cards to block and still come back with, this is going to be a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I don't want to make you do math again on stream, so I think, what is it, 8 plus 7 is 15?
Yeah, if he just wants to throw the swing big, he's going to go ahead and just activate the Tunic.
Okay.
Get the resource.
Oh,
the
no.
Blood Rush Fellow, as a result of the Tunic resource, going to go ahead and discard the final card. I think it's just, the Agile Windup here. Not only are we going to get to draw 2 cards, but we're making another Might token for the next turn.
This is a little bit risky if he ends up drawing 2 reds. I suppose he can still get the swing big, but...
Yeah, you're looking for at least 4 resources if you want to use both the Mandible Claw and the Swing Big on the turn. We see a blue and, I mean, yeah, a blue will do it,
Yeah,
right? That's going to give you 4
he's
no matter
happy
what.
he took that risk now because he gets to push a ton of damage off of the back of this Blood Rush Bellows.
All right, so let's see exactly how the turn is going to continue from here. Looks like we're just going to start things off thanks to the agility. This is going to be a Swing Big, so as you said, this is for 15
I think
with Go again.
17 now.
With
We got
the
to
Blood Rush Bellow.
Yeah, a lot of math on this one.
17 with Go again after blocking with 2 cards.
Mm-hmm.
Seems good to me.
Yep. And he's saying, if you can stop 17, here's a quick token for you.
And both players having a bit of a laugh as we're
Yep.
like, what, you expect me to block 17, my guy?
Good luck with that.
Regardless, yeah, we're just going to put 3 cards in front of this and the Refraction Bolter. So most likely 3 blocks, blocking 10 of the 17.
Okay.
7 damage coming across.
So we'll go down to 30 there once damage is calculated. But we've got another attack coming in.
Yeah, with the 1 card here in the hand and the 1 resource, most likely going to be that Mandible Claw. Blue's actually on the turn.
Okay.
Here's the thing for Kayo. Only got the 1 arm, so only got the 1 claw able to come on in with.
With those 2 floating resources, you can really see why that decision was made, because you could have done an incredibly powerful turn with a 2nd claw, but doesn't have that available. KO the 1-armed brute. How did he lose his arm?
Fighting in the arena, you have to imagine.
Okay, I guess it was the arena. I mean, he could have been fighting anywhere. He could have been fighting in someone's backyard.
Yep, that's true. It's just someone's backyard. The backyardigans really took a bad turn after, they all grew up.
That's true.
Yeah. It all went downhill for them when KO showed up. I mean, the blood was everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, an arm was everywhere, and the blood from the arm, absolutely. True.
Wild Ride going to be coming in now. We're going to go ahead and draw and discard. Looks like Richard on his turn just played out an energy potion. And now Moises here going to go ahead and put out the 3 cards. See which one we want to discard for the Wild Ride. If a 6 is hit, we're going to get the Go again. We do find, looks like another Swing Big, so we're going to make a Might, get the Go again. So this is 7 with Go again, 2 cards left in hand. That's at least a Claw Swing and a card for Arsenal, or whatever one of those 2 cards wants to be coming out for. It looks like an Easter egg could be coming in to draw a card if I saw that correctly. But who cares about the other cards in hand? This is 7 damage that Richard has to deal with. Moises is still sitting at 40, and Richard can head on down to 18, saying, show me what else you got. I want to finally use my 5-card hand effectively.
Yeah. He's trying to set something up after getting stuffed on that turn without getting any counters on the Dawnblade. He really needs to make a pivot, and he needs to make it soon. Moises is putting his pedal to the metal, sending so much damage forward towards Richard.
Mandible Claw coming in. This is going to be 3 more. No Blood Rush Bellows on this turn. Looks like a Zealous Belting in the hand, not an Easter egg. A card I was really thinking about when I was first imagining the KO deck when we were putting our first video out. I was like, could Zealous Belting work? Because, you put the card in the pitch. It gets the +1 in the pitch zone. That'll help for the Zealous Belting cause. A cool card that I... it's cool to see it come out in this KO deck. Moises clearly knows the KO deck. Another Zealous Belting in the hand there, as well as a Bear Fangs. But first, before we think about any of that, let's go ahead and throw in the Dawnblade. It's time for Dorinthea to put her mark on this game. He's fallen all the way down to 17, has Richard. But now he's got a full grip, card and arsenal, energy potion if we need enough resources.
Yeah. We've got a tense situation here. Wonder what they're talking about.
This is going to be, looks like no reactions at first.
Oh.
And we're going to get 2 reactions. This is going to give the Dawnblade Go again with the Shift the Tide of Battle. It's also going to see, the next time a weapon hits, we're going to make an agility token for our next turn. Quite the powerful move here from Richard. Moises still saying no blocks, no reactions. We're going to go ahead and take the 5 damage, going down to 35, get in that agility token. And now the Blade Flurry going to finally get some value. Been sitting there for quite some time after that send packing. And now going to go ahead and buff up this next Dawnblade attack as well. 2 cards in hand, 2 resources floating.
Yep. And I wonder if Moises is just happy with the life lead, and he says, you know what, I can race you from here. I don't need to try to gamble and see if you've got an attack reaction. Show me what you have. I'm not going to give you a prize.
Absolutely, and we're going to make a Vigor token thanks to the Grains of Blood Spill. Come in with another 5 thanks to both the Dawnblade and the Blade Flurry. 2 cards left in hand. Let's see How does Moises want to handle this one here? Looks like we might be given 2 cards.
Okay.
Blocking exactly 5. Richard has the attack reaction. It's going to be the Ironsong response because the reprise has triggered +3 on the stack. If this attack gets through, that Dawnblade counter is going to get a lot more powerful as it's going up from 3 to 4. Dorinthea is starting to do the thing, folks.
Yep, there it is. Moises saying, show me you have the attack reaction. And Richard says, I have the attack reaction. And he goes over the top, gets the counter on the Dawnblade.
And this is now exactly how this game can begin to turn, right? Now that Dorinthea has that counter, we're able to block with a couple cards and present a Dawnblade that all of a sudden has a much more threatening on-hit effect. Luckily for Moises, because he hasn't been under the same amount of pressure, all that armor is available for him. The Scowling Flesh Bag can intimidate. The Apex Bonebreaker can make a might, as well as just getting that nice block on the Scabskin Leather. So the Bearfangs here, again, kind of like swing big at home, coming in for 9.
Yep.
It's making swing big look like the thing at home because
Yeah.
not only do you get the +2 and the +1 from the other might, you're making a might for your next turn. So this is just a huge attack coming in for 3, and it looks like, or blocking for 3 is Richard, perhaps also utilizing some equipment block as well.
2 card 10s, that's something that I only know about in Victor when I've got that Seismic Surge token. But yeah, Moises putting it together, saying, I didn't need those 2 cards. I block with them. I preserve the life total. I don't care that you put the counter on the Dawnblade because here's 9 more damage. And at this rate, Richard is going to need to think about his life total.
Yeah. Looks as though we're blocking for a total of 5 with the Crown of Providence as that sync was triggered. Richard heading down to 13. And Moises just going to continue to have the arsenal, have the might for the next turn. Drawn back up. 2-4. Ooh, maybe a bunch of reds there for Moises. So this might be a turn to go on the defensive as Richard. Sitting with a bunch of cards after that Crown of Providence activation.
He's thinking.
And the agility token here, so
yeah,
he gets go again as long as its attack hits. And again, this is how the game begins to shift for Richard. Glistening Steel Blade, perfect on a turn you already have a counter.
Yeah.
If you're Moises here, do you think you're still feeling that sense of confidence, especially as you see this energy potion get popped?
Well, if it's all reds, you know, maybe he's just sitting there saying, like, I hope you don't have the Twinning Blade. Here's my hand. Let's try again. I don't want to give you more counters.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see does Moises just drop the hand. This attack now coming in for 4.
It always feels so scary to drop the entire hand in front of a Dawnblade because you just never know. Dorinthea's can play around that. It's not, you know, there's only 3 copies of that card, but we haven't seen any yet. In fact, we haven't seen any Singing Steel Blades either. So the possibility for Richard to be able to pick whatever reaction he wants is quite high.
3 cards in hand, very dangerous. The Vigor token and the Energy Potion. Now, interestingly, the Vigor and the Energy Potion allowed for both of these cards to be played without any cards being pitched. So everything available for Richard to pitch with, to play with, all the information is in his hands as Moises has to think about how he wants to block this. Yes, he's up about 20 life, but this Dawnblade can start to get bigger and bigger and scarier and scarier.
Yeah, the amount of damage that he could put out if he is able to get 3 more counters on this turn is scary.
.38 minutes left on the clock. Richard's sitting at 13 life to Moises' 32.
You can tell he thinks that this is an important turn. He needs to make sure that he makes the right decision on this block, which is always so difficult against a Dorinthea.
Yeah, just putting 2 cards in front of this is dangerous here. Looks like he might be looking towards the equipment as well. You want to keep the pressure on when your opponent's low life, but at this point they have the counter. Yeah, taking those blocks back. This is a huge decision point in this game. The Glistening Steel Blade is such a threatening card and almost always takes a lot of respect from your opponent.
Absolutely. So he looks like he's settling with 3 cards, unless he's still touching them. He can't make up his mind. How do you block this Dawnblade? You can't ever know.
Yeah. We'll see if the Scowling Fleshbag wants to join the party here and make decision-making a little more challenging for Richard, as one of those cards that he was expecting to have at his disposal heads to the Banished Zone face down. Looks like Moises still thinking about blocks. Again, the life total is looking rather, I guess disparate would be the word, looking rather disparate, but the Scowling Fleshbag here is going to go ahead and join the fray, adding 2 more block values, so blocking for a total of 11, and going to say, hey man, one of those cards from your hand, I'm putting in the Banished Zone face down, and then let's see what else you got to work with.
He is really respecting the potential on this Dawn Blade here. A Twinning Blade could be absolutely game-breaking. It doesn't look like he has the option, but you can see how scared Moises is of that possibility.
Glint the Quicksilver going to draw a card. Do we find the Twinning? Doesn't look like it. I see a Puncture, I think. As well as maybe like a Booming Blade, if I'm not mistaken. Or like it's like the two cost attack reaction, like Biting Blade. I think it's
Biting Blade, yes. Yeah. Biting Blade, I haven't seen a lot of decks that run that. It's a less common card.
And there is one in the list. Richard here, looks like he might just have to say, yes, I accept. And if that is a red pulping in the hand, then Moises, the pulping doesn't block at all. The E-Strike, that's the card you're able to really kind of play, off of an all-red hand. But when the pulping doesn't block, you're kind of priced into really respecting the Glistening Steel Blade and the counter that already is hanging out upon the Dawn Blade.
And this is kind of Dorinthea's worst nightmare, right? Like, you need to get that snowball rolling. So if your opponent gets the life lead and then you finally have a chance to get the counters and they say, no, I'll take a turn off, we're going to start the game over 32-13. That's a tough spot to be in.
Absolutely. Might triggering here, Tunic counter going to, I believe it's going to be on its third counter. Yeah, he can pitch that red into just the Mandible Claw and make sure you get the value off of the Might token if you use the Tunic. It looks like that is going to be the play. You want to make sure you get that value when you can, even though Pulping is such a powerful card in these decks. You want to get the value off the Might token. You can continue to set up your Findall Spring Tunic for later. And also at this point with your opponent at 13, that Tunic might be used to block in the next couple turns. So might as well get the value off it while you can. Still got that Zealous Belting in the arsenal here if you're Moises. And like you were saying, Dorinthea here, they really need to be able to punish when they overblock. And often that really revolves around Twinning Blade. So for Richard here, not able to punish that overblock from Moises.
Yeah, it's just feeling a little bit unlucky. He hasn't seen any of the Twinning Blades and none of the Singing Steel Blades either. But he's going to come in with the, which card is that? Spoils of War.
A classic. Gonna give +2 to the next weapon attack if it hits. Make 2 copper tokens for the rest of the turn. Dorinthea not gonna be doing any bleeding on her hands. No blood on her hands. Gonna power up the copper tokens. But it looks like Moises here just gonna go ahead and say, I accept, take the 5 damage. This is much less scary than a Glistening Steel Blade. Let's see what else you got.
Yeah, I'm not sure what cards Moises drew, but whatever he has, it seems like he's happy to try to at least push some damage on next turn. He doesn't need to throw everything out this time. He's feeling so comfortable. No counters on the Dawn Blade.
Dawn Blade coming in. We did not make the Vigor here, so wanting to keep both cards in the hand is Richard, because the Vigor token creation would have taken that final resource, requiring another card to be pitched. So now Richard, or for now, Moises can kind of utilize that to his advantage. Okay, he didn't make the Vigor. That means he needs the cards in his hand. Does he have a big attack reaction, something that requires 2 or more resources to play, something like a Biting Blade, something like an Overpower? What's that card in the arsenal? But it looks like Moises here may be just saying, show me what you got. I'm not turning on Reprise. You can have your counter. I'm going to try to take it down, because here is that Biting Blade coming down.
And Biting Blade's a nice card because it doesn't lose that much if you don't have Reprise. Yeah, you lose a little bit of damage on the back end, but you can still get most of its power out, and you see it coming through for 6, and then he creates a Vigor on the back of that. You know, he's doing his best. He's swinging with what he's got, and, you know, with the 12 life lead Moises has and the 5-card hand, we'll see what he strings together here. Maybe looking to close this game out soon.
Definitely. You have to imagine, when you let the Dory player get the counter, there's got to be a good reason, because that Dawn Blade can get just absolutely devastating when it moves into a point of having those breakpoints on every single attack. So Moises here, 5-card hand, no agility to speak of and no might, but the Zealous Belting going to be some natural go again, not requiring a draw nor a discard. And here's the thing, you're like, what? That Reincarnate has 5 power. Did you just get here, Michael? This is heavy hitters.
You read my mind.
Yeah, Kayo gives it +1 in any zone. That includes the pitch, you silly head.
Wow, so the Zealous Belting has Go again. That's a card that I don't see that often in KO decks. I'm not sure if maybe they're coming around to it and realizing the power. But the fact that it's not a Brute card is actually something that can sometimes affect Blood Rush Bellow turns.
100%. You do get that nice go again from those Zealous Belting, but just like the E-Strike, it's why I don't think the E-Strike was in the Battle Hardened winning list that Yuki ran out there, because it doesn't get the benefit from the Blood Rush Bellow. But Moises here prioritizing the rest of his turns beyond the Blood Rush Bellow's turn, going to go ahead and, we've seen the E-Strikes, we've seen now Zealous Belting into the pulping, unless that's a D-React in Richard's arsenal. This is going to be tough for him to stop having Go again itself, as it here makes the Might, has the Dominate, comes in 4-6. If it's not blocked with 2 or more non-equipment cards, going to get the Go again.
Yeah, and you can see the Zealous Belting really putting in work here. Who needs Blood Rush Bellow when you just have Go again after Go again after Go again, slamming damage up 21-7. Richard's in a tough spot. He's going to have to figure out how to thread something together if he wants a chance to come back in this game.
2 floating here for Moises means a Mandible Claw at the very minimum follows up this big old Pulpin coming in with the Dominate. Pulpin getting so much work in these KO decks, man. What a resurgence this card has seen, thanks to how often you can just draw and discard off the top of your deck. Wow, we've talked about the Twinning Blades being so tough for Richard not being able to find them. 2 in the same hand is never what you want to see, especially when you're just trying to stay alive.
It almost feels like with flashback to last game, we had all 3 Blood Rush Bellas in one hand. Now we've got all the Twinning Blades in one hand. Really unfortunate for this player here, Richard. Kind of struggling to get his deck to flow the way that he wants it to.
And the Dominate means that even if Richard wants to be on the defensive this turn because he has a clunky hand with those Twinning Blades, that Dominate is going to push some damage through. Such a powerful way to close games out against defensive decks. 3 damage coming across, and a Beast Within it looks like for Moises headed to the arsenal here. So not your most powerful arsenal target, but still a nice 2-card 6 that can be a 2-card 8 off of Blood Rush Bellow's turn.
Yeah, the Pulping card in itself is so amazing as both Go Again enabler and a closer. It fits both roles so well. I can see why we see that card. The one downside is if they're running D-Reacts, they can shut a turn down. It's kind of risky.
For sure. This is going to be a Steel Blade Supremacy on top of a Dawn Blade that has a counter already, but now is when you're able to kind of do some work if you're Moises here. 2 floating means pretty much everything is available to Richard, so you have to decide. There's 1 card in the arsenal. This is coming in for 6. How much do I care about the counter staying on? But the problem with Steel Blade Supremacy, every hit draws a card from here on out in this turn.
This is another one of his huge power cards, which it's the first time this game he's playing this. He really wishes that he had some Twinning Blades in hand for this turn, but he had to block with them. He doesn't have the resources. The life total is too low. He can't afford to keep his good cards anymore.
Now it looks as though, yeah, Moises just saying, listen, you're at 3. I'm going to take your 6. I'm going to say, show me the Go again. Richard here has blocked with the Refraction Bolter, so it's time to cash in and give the Go again. Every hit draws a card from here on out, and does Richard want to, I guess these are all on-hit triggers. So now in the resolution step, Richard deciding, does he want to go ahead and make that Vigor with the Grains of Blood Spill? 2 floating, 1 card in hand, 1 card in arsenal. I think the card in arsenal is a Pierce Puncture, unless it has been blocked with on one of these prior turns. But like you said, Richard sitting at 3, not a single one of those Twinning Blades could have been kept.
Yeah.
Because then he'd be dead.
You know, there is potential for Moises to slip up here. If he doesn't make the right blocks and he's drawing a card on every single hit, 15 life is a lot less than 21 is less than 32. He's getting chipped down.
100%. I mean, this is starting to look a little bit scarier for Moises. The question is his life total low enough that he's truly under enough pressure, or has he built up enough of a buffer, that basically 20 life buffer that he had? Is that enough of a buffer to allow him to just kind of go ahead and take a bunch of damage and then really close the game out from there?
Flashbacks to the Briar turns, drawing a card on every hit is scary. And it wouldn't surprise me if Richard could threaten 15 damage off of just a 3-card hand when he's drawing every single time his blade hits.
And here's the thing, Moises went ahead and said no blocks, but Richard, maybe because of reprise or otherwise, not able to threaten or push any more damage, which is, again, not really what you want to see if you're a Dory fan, because Moises here able to sit pretty at 9. Richard, 2 counters on the Dawn Blade, and at the end of the turn, it looks like before Richard draws up, we're going to go ahead and discard an Agile Windup. So now we've got a Might token, we've got an Agility token. This is exactly where Kayo likes to sit.
9 health to 3, 5-card hand.
4-card hand after the discard of the Agile Windup.
Of course.
But a 4-card hand with an Agility token, that 1 card that makes you an Agility, listen. I don't know the value matrix that a lot of the top players truly ascribe an agility token to, but it's close to a card, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just can't give it a number because sometimes it's 0 and sometimes it's 6.
100%.
If you play a 6 that you couldn't have otherwise played.
This is coming in for 7 thanks to the Might token, which means we have to put a bunch of cards in front of it and the final block on the Brave Porch Breaker, blocking out for 7 here. Now here's the thing. Is Richard going to be able to...
Oof, and there's that Bear Fangs.
Wow, Bear Fangs, yeah. Off the top, we see Blue Agile Windup, but that's a 6 thanks to the Kayo. So this is 8 damage because we've already used the Might token, but makes a Might token on the back end. For Richard here, though, you know what that Vigor means? He's going to get to swing that big old Dawn Blade, even if he has to block with all of his cards.
That is one of the most amazing parts about the Vigor token, and he does lay down everything, blocking 7 of the 8.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because the Goblin only blocks
that's
2.
2 blocks.
So Richard has to go down to 1 here, but the Vigor token does mean he can at least threaten to keep the Dawn Blade around.
Yep.
Moises, though, able to do a good amount of kind of, deducing here, because Richard did not do any attack reacting when Moises didn't lay a card down, which means most likely the card in the arsenal there can't be played unless Moises does block, because he didn't play it last turn, unless he's really trying to, do something tricky on this turn. This is coming in for 5, unless it's a 4 pump here. I don't know if there's any, because Alpha Blood's a 1 for 4.
Did he have 2 Vigors? Or just 1?
I think he had 2. I think he had 2,
okay.
Yeah, because that's all he did really on the...
Yeah.
It's going to be a puncture. That's his 1 for 3 and gives piercing 1. So this is now going to be...
Wow.
8 damage.
Wow.
Yeah, Moises can go down to exactly 1 here.
Ugh.
Unbelievable. Moises heading down to 1. This is the second game today where we've seen a 20 life lead shrink to 1 to 1. The question is, can Moises close the game out from here? Does the Might token allow for a break point to really finish this thing off?
It looks like he's got a counter on his tunic as well. Or 3, rather. Wow. It's kind of hard to see that. Can you see if that's a...
I believe it is 3.
Okay.
Draw and discard off the top of the deck. I think we're at 3 6s in hand, so this should be completely safe. It is going to be that riled up thanks to Kayo. We're going to go ahead and make a Might token. Wild Ride now coming in 7 with go again, which means...
Those break points are so brutal when you're on 1 life. He has to give 3 cards here.
This is now 3 cards in front of this.
Oh my gosh.
Which means...
Is that...
That's 3.
2 floating, okay.
Oh, yeah. And then the Command and Conquer is going to go ahead and finish the game from
Well played.
here. Moises Lopez moving on to 3-0 on KO after an incredibly close finish. Moises, again, was kind of able to sniff out, I'm not sure you're going to be able to kill me from here, given that you didn't try to put any more pressure on the turn prior. Went down to 1, but closed the game out, and KO Armed and Dangerous is certainly looking so as the deck moves on to 3-0.
This is another 1 health to 1 health match. We've had some close matches. Now, they didn't feel close at first, but the way that these players have been able to claw their way back into the game, I mean, if that puncture was able to do 1 more damage, it can't. But if it was, we have a very different game on our hands. Any point along that game, 1 health.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Find 1 more damage if the attack reactions had broken a different way. And it's probably one of the things we love so much about this freaking game is how games can seem out of reach, games can seem so far away, and yet most games of Flesh and Blood often come down to someone is below 5 and the other person's below 5. Your armor's broken and you're trying to find that one final swing. I think it also is a really good reminder and just like a way to show once again how much your life is a resource in these games. Even though 20 life deficits can seem insurmountable,
that's right.
They also really can just mean the player with that buffer now has an extra resource beyond just hand, graveyard, arsenal, and bandage zone.
Yeah.
They have their life total that they can use, take a couple licks to finish the game.
That's right, and Moises really did that well. He said, I know that you're presenting, you have an arsenal, you have 1 floating, but I also know what Dorinthea can do. There aren't any cards that can go 1 for 4 in the reaction step, so I will say no blocks. And it was a really good choice because he needed every card in his hand to guarantee the close there. Yeah,
and the Might token really kind of finishing off the game with the taking the 3 cards on that one. You have to imagine with the go again into the 3, into the 6, it would have done it no matter what. But the other thing we have to consider is that Dory deck did a darn good job for having some clunky draws and some
Absolutely.
clunky openers. A couple different attack reactions breaking a different way, and we would have seen Richard moving on to 3-0, and it shows you why he's already won 2 games today at the AGE Open and is putting himself in a prime position if he can continue to win out from here to punch his ticket into the top 8. So let's go ahead and just take a brief look at the metagame breakdown as we move out of this third round here. 3 Dorintheas out there on the day. We just saw Richard. We know for a fact that the U.S. national champ Charles Dunn is playing Dorinthea. Spicy, spicy, spicy. That is not a deck we've ever seen him play. I'm sure he's playing just a normal, just a totally normal Dawn Blade.
Yeah.
Nothing fatigue-oriented about this Dorinthea,
I was going to say, if I knew anything about Charles Dunn, this man likes to win the game through, I guess you could call it deck damage. Is that a little spicy term right there? But he doesn't really like to threaten the life so much as say, show me that you can kill me.
Absolutely. That is the question that all fatigue players ask, and the question that Charles Dunn has oftentimes not had his opponents had answers for, as he has
That's right.
dominated so many different aspects of this game. We'll have to check in on him out there in the standings, see if we'll get him on stream. I'm sure he's going to win a bunch of games, so
Sure.
he'll probably be on stream at some point. But those games, let me tell you, they're long. Those games are long.
We'll save it for when the clock is a little bit more extensive.
Absolutely, absolutely. Probably something moving forward from here. So thank you all so much for joining us for this round 3 of the AG Open. We're halfway through Swiss. We got 3 more great rounds of Flesh and Blood coming up before our incredible top 8. So we've seen a bunch of Brutes. We've seen a bunch of, we've seen the couple Drome, or just the one Dromai, and we've seen a Warrior. Where are some of these Dark Horse decks that are now going to be 3-0 coming out of this tournament?
That's a very good question.
know?
I spotted, I think it was a Riptide versus Vincent game at the top table before this round started.
Oh.
I don't know how they're doing at this point, but I mean, at the very least, those are some very dark horses that were doing quite well at the end of round 2. One of them won that.
One of them did win. One of
Right?
them did win. How it has to work unless they found a draw.
That's true. That is
But
possible.
you have to
I
imagine.
don't-
You have to imagine that's not how Vince
I don't
said
see
it,
that
right?
matchup going to a draw.
No way, no way. So we'll check in with them. We'll see if we can get some of these other spicier decks, even if they're X and 1, because we've seen a lot of Brutes, we've seen a lot of Warriors, we've seen the heavy hitters of the meta
Yeah.
and Dromai. So we will see you momentarily. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Flesh and Blood.